90.3 WHPC now presents Law You Should Know. The law affects every aspect of our lives, our home, our jobs, and our recreational activities. Now, learn about the law and how to protect yourself against the loss of your liberty or property, and learn how to stand up for your rights and seek compensation when you have been wronged. Your host for Law You Should Know is attorney Kenneth J. Landau, a past dean of the Nassau Academy of Law, and frequently lectures to lawyers on ethics and avoiding problems with clients, and to the public on how to choose and use lawyers. This is Law You Should Know on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC.
Hi, this is Ken Landau, and welcome to Law You Should Know. Today we're going to be talking about tips on getting admitted to college and law and graduate school, and our special guest is Dr. Cynthia Colon, and she used to be an admissions counselor at Vassar College, and she's the author of the upcoming book, Be Committed and Get Admitted. And she'll be talking to us about do's and don'ts and in the college admission and also financial aid process. Cynthia, welcome to Law You Should Know.
Hi, Ken. It's great to be here with you.
Applying to undergrad and law school and graduate school has become more important than ever, and people are concerned about the cost and the benefits depending on their major and what career, etc. There's no longer the mentality of a blank check, blind spending to, get a degree that may not get you anything but driving Uber. How have things changed now, Cynthia, from 20 years ago?
There are a couple of things that are going to contribute to my answer, but one is, after the pandemic or during the pandemic, there were a lot of people sort of saying, do I want to spend this kind of money if my kid is going to be, basically taking classes from home or in their PJs at the dorm room? Number one. And number two, the amount of debt that students can acquire during their 4 years of college or, law school or medical school is an enormous amount of money to be carrying around for a long time after graduation. So people are looking at different alternatives. There is the community college route to save some money before transferring to a four-year institution. There's the route of really thinking about applying for scholarship dollars. There are tens of millions that go unclaimed every year. And then, of course, there are state schools that will give merit aid. So sometimes you can just look up. I would recommend looking up earlier in your career, like as a freshman in high school, or if you're going to be applying to law school, look up, in your freshman year of college. What are schools that might give merit dollars just based on your straight GPA or straight SAT score? And so that you can shoot for those targets, knowing you're going to get a set amount of money if you can be admitted to your state or local college.
And some schools cost less than others. Some can tie in financial aid or work study or something, more than others. And, part may depend on the rate of return. Are you going to be an engineer or a scientist or an accountant, and perhaps a lawyer, something where you might be able to pay back the debt, or are you going to be saddled with debt? Or for some, will you qualify for loan forgiveness if you go into public service as a teacher, as a doctor, and will those programs be around? Sometimes the future is a little uncertain. So I guess the bottom line is today, parents and grandparents and relatives don't want to mortgage their future because they may be on the hook. And also students may not be want to tie to all this debt. It may hamper their ability to get married, to enjoy life, to have a positive credit rating, to buy real estate, other things because of the debt they owe because of college, which they may or may not be able to repay.
Well, you are really hitting some good points here that I like to share, that I like to remind families that college is not the ultimate goal. College is the next goal. The ultimate goal is to have a happy future, a happy life, a happy career, own real estate, own a home, all those things. And so just think about, what is that next goal? How am I going to be able to, what's the best way to leverage getting into college and using that degree, but also not sacrificing for years to come afterwards because of the debt that you're straddling with.
And closing your options. And some people also suggest borrow for the graduate school, for the law school, something that's going to lead to a paying job and keep your college costs down. Because when you add graduate school, vet school, medical school, law school onto a debt load from college, it's going to hurt your ability to earn a living.
when I work with private clients, I tell families, you want to really be honest with your child about how much money you are able to give them towards their entirety of their education, not just the 4 years, but if after these 4 years, if the bucket is $100,000 that a family can afford, then you need to say that. And so a kid might choose to instead save that for graduate school. So you're absolutely right.
And they may want to save some money for, let's say, a study abroad program. Go to the state school, but get a unique learning experience and study abroad. Well, they might need living expenses after college while they're looking for a job, and maybe that's when you want to get the money from your parents or grandparents.
Yeah, those extra special opportunities, are also great for your resume building as you're thinking about applying to graduate schools and terminal degrees. Those extra special things can really be helpful.
And in that job interview or that grad school interview, you may be asked about why you chose that college. And this reasoning is going to make sense to potential employers as well.
Mm-hmm.
To show responsibility. And let's talk about the importance of the 90-10 rule as we talk about the college or graduate school admission process.
The 90-10 rule just means this. It means that 90% of the application happens before senior year. So if you're thinking about a traditional age student going through high school, 90% of everything that happens and goes into the application is going to happen before senior year. To use that same rule as thinking about graduate school, same thing. Most everything that you do in your first 3 years of college is going to impact what happens in that application that you're applying to. Because typically you're applying, if you are going straight into graduate school, you're going to be applying in your senior year. So, and if you're not, you're probably applying, just 1 or 2 years out. So that's the 90-10 rule.
And what about in terms of when does it start? Does it start 9th grade, 10th grade?
It does start in 9th grade. So what's important to understand is that while most colleges are going to look at your 10th and 11th grade grades and recalculate a GPA for their college admissions process, most teenagers will say, well, Dr. C, so that means that my freshman year grades don't count. Same would be true, again, when thinking about college. And I say there's a difference between being eligible to apply to a college and being competitive. So yes, the freshman year grades aren't recalculated into a GPA. It doesn't mean that the admission office is blind to doesn't mean that they don't look at them or take them into consideration. So do you want to be minimally eligible to be admissible, or do you want to be a really competitive applicant? So think about that, because really those 9th grade or those freshman year grades do count.
And I also wanted to suggest and wonder what you think about trying to get some experience in what you think may be a field of interest, whether you're in high school or college or even in law school, you're interested in law, medicine, or science, try to volunteer in that arena to see if you like it. And maybe you'll make some contacts there, and maybe it will look good, help you to stand out on an application.
Oh, this is what I call your coolness factor. So there are sometimes kids who know, or parents identify something that their kid is really good at, or they really love, fill in the blank, chess, paddleboarding, sports, sports casting, reading books, whatever it is that you love, you like to debate. You want to follow that passion, because at the end of the day, your application has to really be compelling and engaging. And you have to say, whatever you're saying you want to become, you have to mean what you say and say what you mean. So give me the evidence. If you're going to say in your traditional age application to college, your traditional college, you want to be a doctor, you want to be a lawyer, you want to be a teacher, you want to be a vet, whatever. Show me the evidence in the last 3 years that proves that you want to do that. So think about doing some kind of summer program or inventing something yourself. When you want to go into business, you want to be an entrepreneur. Did you start a little business? Did you have a little lemonade stand? Did you use the money to give to nonprofit? I have a student who I just been working with since her sophomore year. She's now a senior. She's headed to Yale, but she wants to be an immigration lawyer. She has said that from the beginning. And so everything she did in the last several years, she was on mock trial. She was in her law pathways in her high school. She did Girls State. She did a podcast interviewing immigration lawyers and immigrants on how to navigate the process of getting your green card and becoming a citizen. So everything in her world proved to the admissions committee that that's what she said. What she said, what she means, and means what she says. So
I'm saying go beyond that is hook up with a lawyer at immigration advocacy group. See what goes on the level. Are these lawyers happy? Are they satisfied with what they can do? What skills do they suggest you get in high school and college to help you as an immigration lawyer? Of course, a foreign language might be one of them. Yeah. Other counseling skills. There might be other things that go into the mix.
Absolutely. Good advice. And she was able to connect with an immigration lawyer along the way, too.
Because also you may find you don't like it or you can't stand it or you don't have an aptitude for it. So this way you can change a little bit in high school and in college and perhaps avoid that graduate school, make a better choice.
Ooh, yeah. That graduate school mistake is very costly.
Yes, absolutely. And if you can get qualify for something out of college, that's always good. I just want to remind our listeners, we're talking with Dr. Cynthia Colon. She's the author of Be Committed, Get Admitted. We're talking about putting your best profile, getting your best fit forward in the college and graduate and law school admissions process. And you're listening to us on Law You Should Know here on 90.3 WHPC, the voice of Nassau Community College. If you missed any part of this program or you want to tell someone else about it, just go to the podcast at nccradio.org. And of course, Dr. Colon's book is Be Committed and Get Admitted, and she has valuable information on her website, which she'll share with us in a few minutes. Let's just touch about GPA and why that's important, and then we'll talk about what admission counselors and the people evaluating these applications at colleges and law and graduate schools are looking for.
So GPA, let's talk about that. So I briefly mentioned before, the 10th and 11th grade tend to be the most important years, or in college would be the sophomore and the junior year. So here's what most people don't know or don't realize. When a group of students from any given high school applies to X, Y, or Z college, that group of students, that cohort of students is being compared to each other. Students often say, well, I'm going to be better than the kid from, name another state. And I say, well, you're not being compared to that. So you want to look at your school profile. You want to understand what context is the college going to see my high school in. And on that school profile, you're going to be able to find the GPA distribution. You're going to be able, high schools reveal how many honors, how many APs they have. So right away, when I work with freshmen, I say, go and look this up, because if you want to know what the top GPA is at your high school graduating every year, is it a 4.5? Is it a 4.3? Is it a 4.0? What is it? Because if you're trying to access those top colleges, you want to know what that GPA is. So that's the first thing, really understanding you're going to be compared against your own cohort of peers.
And I just want to touch on it now. I mean, a grad school applicant, a college applicant has to be prepared for rejection and let's say have a plan B. Let's say you don't get into the Ivy League college. Have plan B, make the most of it, and focus on getting into the grad school or the law school of your choice. And that's going to be important in your resume. They're going to look at the last school you attended. Where you went to college might be almost irrelevant. Not completely, but almost irrelevant.
Well, I believe in the 30-40-30 rule, which is 30%. This is the college list. When you're creating a list of colleges you're going to apply to, I tell my students, your only goal is to have choices by the time this is over. That's true for whenever you're applying, whatever college you're applying to or graduate program. You want to have choices. The only way to do that is to make sure that you use the 30-40-30 rule, which is 30%, no more than 30% of your college list should be your realistic reach schools. And then 40% should come from your 50-50 or target schools. And then that 30% be likely and most likely schools, so that you have choices at the end. And
you also may get into that school, but the finances may not work out. I mean, an Ivy League school is going to be less generous with financial aid. So all I'm suggesting, and perhaps you agree, is just make the best of your decision. Down the road, you can always transfer. You can save your resources and your energy for graduate school.
Absolutely. Even the top kids who get into Ivy Leagues also get rejected. So be prepared for that.
And unfortunately, it may happen in life too. Let's talk about what the admissions officers are doing, how they're spending their time, what can stand out to them.
It's important to know that college admission folks will spend no more than about 6 to 12 minutes on reading an entire application from start to finish. So every word is high real estate in that application. So, whatever you're doing, whatever you're thinking about, it's really important to think about getting some advice, getting someone to review your essays and your application before you submit them. For those who are in high school, or for those of your listeners who have high school bound students who are college bound in high school, they've never done this before. Even if as the parent you went to college, obviously you're listening to this, you probably went to college, maybe went to law school, all of that. It doesn't mean that they've gone through this process. So this process is new for anyone who's starting out. So getting a coach or getting a teacher or getting an uncle or a sister to look at your information before, that's really important. The main goal is to have an interesting, engaging, and compelling application that really helps connect the dots for the reader. Make it easy on your reader for them to advocate for you.
And let's talk about another important point I think you believe in about connecting the dots. There could be other things that an applicant to a law school or a college or a graduate school can focus on. Maybe they weren't the student body president. Maybe they weren't in the top 10 with their, GPA. What else can they focus on?
Connecting the dots is all about revealing who you are. So in an application, we believe that there's kind of 4 topics, or when we talk about essays, who am I? What am I good at? What's something super cool or different about me? And what's my future connection? Like, why do I want to major in this? So think about all 4 of those pieces. And for example, I'll give you a quick example. Let's use myself when I was a teenager. Who am I? I am Mexican, Puerto Rican, a daughter of an immigrant mother, grew up with 14 aunts and uncles. Okay. That might be a component of my application. What am I good at? I'm good at corralling kids and getting them to, sign up for things and donate their time and get them excited about things. What's something super cool about me? I love college sports. I love college sports. I watched every Saturday football. What do I want to do? I thought then I wanted to be a sportscaster. So those 4 components should reveal themselves somewhere in your application so that the person reading the application understands sort of a sliver into your life, a window into your soul, and they understand how you can contribute to their institution.
I also want to suggest, and maybe it helps with admissions and making contacts for the real world, you're not the student body president. You're doing your high school or college radio. You can reach out to people in the world, in academia, someone like you, people in the field that you're thinking of down the road. Set up an interview, set up a speaking engagement, put together a panel, and you can be the organizer. It's a way of making contacts. Ask these people for a bit of advice. You would never have an excuse or a reason to contact them, and perhaps so they will respond. But if you reach out to them to organize a program, to interview them, it gives you a way of having some kind of leadership skill and making contact with them.
Ooh, I love this notion of networking, right? Because as adults, we know the value of networking and reaching out and not being afraid to ask people for what you need. And you're going to get no's. Some people are going to get no's, or you may get, nothing and a non-response.
But all it takes is a few positive.
Yeah, exactly. But to this point, every college, and I'm assuming it's true for graduate programs as well, every institution, admission office, has someone that's assigned to your high school. So parents that you're listening and you got a kid in high school, or if you're a college student, you're thinking about this, reach out, and you can even Google, I'm in California. So we, Google USC, find my counselor. I Google that and it takes me to the site. I type in my high school name, and then it tells me, it pops up. It says Adriana Seriano is my person, and it gives me the email address. It is never too early, and it's never a bad idea to reach out and start building a relationship and just ask. You can ask questions like, hi, my name is Adrian. I'm from Stuyvesant High School. I'm interested as a philosophy major. Do you have a debate team on campus, or whatever you want to say? But I have my private clients. I have sophomores do this. I have them do it as juniors. And if you can get a few emails in before, that's going to be helpful. The first time a college or a graduate program hears from you should not be when you submit the application.
And you can always reach out to a faculty member. Let's say you're interested in geology or space. It cannot hurt to reach out to the department. Maybe they wrote a book. Maybe they're willing to share with you what got them excited about that, what jobs it can lead to, how it helps them physically and mentally. The worst they can say is no.
Absolutely.
And I'm talking about as a interview basis, as a speaker, for a book report or something along those lines.
And what a great thing. Let's say you did get some professor to, either do research with or come and, sit in their class. You could say, can I come sit in your classroom? I'd love to. And then when you go to apply to that college, graduate program or otherwise, you can say, I interacted with Professor so-and-so, and I just love that class, or I just love the interaction. That's going to prove to that school that you're really interested.
And on that note, when you're going for a college tour or graduate school, think outside the box. Go, meet the people in the extracurricular activities you think you're interested in, just to see what goes on. Meet that coach, meet that professor, ask to sit in on a little class of something you might be interested in. The worst they can say was no, and that may affect your feelings about that college or law school or graduate school, good or bad. I just want to remind our listeners, we're talking with Dr. Cynthia Colon. She is the author of Be Committed and Get Admitted, and she's going to that's a book about, getting into college and graduate school. And if you missed any part of the program, you're listening to Law You Should Know here on 90.3 WHPC, the voice of Nassau Community College. If you missed any portion of this program, you want to tell someone else about it, just go to the website, nccradio.org. Dr. Colon, just take a minute to talk about your website and what helpful information there is on your website.
Absolutely. So you can find me. You can go to Be Committed, Get Admitted, and it will take you to a spot where you can download the first chapter of my book. That's one thing, and that's a little free gift from me. You can also just go straight to my website, Dr. Cynthia Colon, DrCynthiaCol, like Larry, O-N like Nancy, .com. There you're going to find a few things. Depending on where you are in the process, if you're early on, you might want to do a full family consultation where we really reach out and meet with the family to see what strengths and gifts that your child has and how to leverage those in the process. We also have College Essay Bootcamp. And so those are the two main things that we have available. But also I do work privately with students one-on-one. I just take a few per year. So that's a way to get started. You can also just sign up for a free consultation where we meet for about 20 minutes.
And what else can people learn about the process and guidance they can get by reading your book?
The book is meant to be, if we never met and you just picked up the book, it would give you a blueprint as to what to do from start to finish in getting admitted. There are lessons about college admissions for sure, but they are also life lessons. There's a whole chapter on what happens when you fail in school. How do you pick yourself back up? And every single, there are 30 tales in the book. Every one of them is sort of a historical fiction. They're based on real students that I've worked with. There are real tales. There are real incidents, the good, the bad, and the ugly about this process. The last chapter is probably my favorite because I think there's 7 students and it takes you through what happened to each of them, where they got admitted, where they didn't, how they chose. And so there's a lot of things that you can learn, again, from the beginning of the process all the way to the end.
And this is good experience for life because no matter how successful we are, at some point we're going to have challenges, personal or professional, and we need to move on and overcome them.
Absolutely. You're absolutely correct.
What are some of the other things that, summarize that students should be aware of as they go through 9th and 10th and 11th grade and their first years of college and thinking about graduate school?
When we think about high school or the beginning of college, it's all about discovery. And so in the first years, you want to sort of explore and just be open to a number of different things. And then sort of continue to kind of hone in. And then by junior year, you're really sort of taking on leadership roles. Similar is true for college. So even if you go into college with a decided, I'm going to go to law school, I would say to you, use that freshman year to continue to explore, make new friends, try new things to make sure, in fact, that that's what you want to do. Because you'll explore and then you'll kind of solidify in sophomore year. And then you want to really be taking on internships, leadership roles, things like that by the junior year so that can shine into your application.
And even if you're in high school, there might be electives that will give you a taste of that field and your potential college major. And if there's no elective, perhaps you can start a club just so you can meet real people working in that field and learn a little bit more about that field. And you may be motivated, or you may say this is not really of interest, or it's boring, or I can't see myself doing that as a career.
Yeah. In high school, at least, there's the 5 academic food groups. I referred to them as English, math, science, social science, and modern language. And then on top of that, you have your elective. So that's where you can say, let me take this other thing to try out. Right. A lot of students will take, psychology or AP computer science, or some art class, whether it's ceramics or something like that, or performing arts. So those are all things you can do. You can also take community college courses to augment and supplement over the summer. We have these summer programs, pre-college programs that are quite expensive. So I often will say to students, look up the dream, Harvard or MIT or, something, the Northwestern journalism program, what it would be if you went, but then go find those courses at a community college, and you don't have
and you can also contact a potential employer or nonprofit and try to set up your own internship or experiential group.
Absolutely. I mean, you and I speak the same language, but it takes an awfully gutsy teenager to kind of come out of their shell and sort of do that for themselves. So start small, start by calling people or mom and dad friends, and then grow into carving out something for you. But I absolutely believe
And you can start by inviting them to come speak to your school. That as a baby step, and perhaps everything else will lead to that.
Ooh, I have something to say about that.
Yeah, very quickly, because we have a limited time. But go ahead.
Sure. No, I wanted to say I recently was selected to be a TEDx speaker. And so I've been telling to all of my friends who are at high schools, I'm happy to speak to a group of people for free because I'm trying to get as much practice as possible before October. So happy to come talk to your school for sure.
And thank you for talking to us today. And that's one thing you should also try to do in high school and college and professional school is practice communicating. Get out of your comfort zone. It comes with practice. There are tips, and there are other programs about it on our website about how to be a better speaker at nccradio.org, where you can also hear a copy of this show. I'd like to thank Dr. Cynthia Colon for being our guest, and her book is Be Committed, Get Admitted. And if you missed any portion of today's program, please go to our website, nccradio.org, or if you want to tell someone else about it. And also just give us your website one more time, Doctor.
Dr. Cynthia Colon, DrCynthia like Larry, O-N like Nancy.com.
And as she mentioned before, you'll get information about her book, which is a valuable resource, as well as other things you can learn from her website. But the important thing is to try to reach out, expand your world in high school, in college, even in junior high, even in graduate school, to see what there is out there that's meaningful to you and also of interest to you.
Absolutely.
So I'd like to thank Dr. Colon again. If you missed any part of the program, go to the podcast at nccradio.org, and please join us next week at this same time on Law You Should Know on WHPC, the voice of Nassau Community College in Garden City, New York, and also at nccradio.org.